Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
So I will call the meeting of the Board of Trustees for May 2nd to order at 7 p.m. Hey, Rick. If anybody is trying to connect and can't get in, the number to call for technical assistance is 802-376-4639. This is a remote only meeting. So the only way to participate is by dialing in either by phone or by Zoom. So having called us to order, I believe the first item is reorganization of the board. Carl, can you remind me, do we need to do anything other than elect a chair and a vice chair?
No, we have no other board offices.
Would you like to carry that out?
Okay, well,
I'm planning on running for the chair. It seems somewhat awkward for me to accept nominations for myself. Hi, Ellen. We've just gotten started.
So can I ask the trustees if there are nominations for the position of chair currently held by Amy Howlett?
Come on, Ellen, you can do it.
I would nominate Amy Howlett for the position of board chair.
Of course, I absolutely nominate Amy Howlett to the position of chair.
Okay, I feel better now.
Sorry, I'm in a new spot. Like I just rearranged stuff, so I'm completely like kerflubbled.
I accept the nomination. And can you see me? I'm seeing a dark screen where I would expect to see video. You can't see anything.
We just see a black hole.
Oh, you know what? I think I have some weird thing going on with my camera. Oh, darn it. I wonder if that's it.
So Matt, in case you missed it, we are at the reorganization and Amy has been nominated and seconded for the position of board chair.
And I'm happy to accept that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Not, I will call the nominations closed. All those in favor of Amy Howlett for the position of chair?
I'm raising my hand.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm also frantically trying to see where I can turn the camera on. Okay, I'm just going to keep going, and when we get into discussion, then I'll do it. So I do have some. And now we have
another. We have another position first, Amy.
Yeah, do you want me to take it on now that
you want to take it over? Fine.
Sure. So the other position we have is the position of vice chair, which has in the past been held by Carl Ball. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Carl Ball.
Is there a second to that?
I second it.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? All right. It's been moved and seconded to elect Carl Ball to the position of vice chair. All in favor signify by raising your hand. And it is unanimous. All right. So we have a new chair and a new vice chair. And we didn't have to have anybody sworn in, correct? Because everybody got sworn in last year, right?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay, great. So public comment.
I just had, well, I can do it in other business, I guess.
Whatever you'd like, fine to do it now.
Well, I had a resident ask me if the fire alarm at the church is still necessary. So
the
What
fire
do they mean?
alarm.
What do they mean?
Well,
Siren,
you know,
you
the
mean?
alarm goes off for either a rescue or a fire.
Yeah. And they don't want it?
Well, the resident lives right next to the church. And just wondering, you know, given today's technologies, you know, it doesn't seem as though the farmers are leaving their horses in the field and running to the fire station. I think it's, they're probably getting, they're knowing about it before the alarm goes off. So it was a question, and I, you know.
Well, I think they all carry pagers and they get the word on their pagers. At least Richard Nichols does whenever he's
Right.
been working around our place.
Right.
So probably it isn't necessary. That would probably be a question for Art.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Mhm. Yep.
So do you want to follow up with him, Matt?
Sure.
And bring it to the next board meeting?
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I have learned to check Twitter when the alarm goes off.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. Because
So-
Fire Mutual Aid is on Twitter. So I hear the siren, I go right to Twitter and I'm like, ooh.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
still want the siren, right?
Well, for selfish reasons, like the other night, it was midnight and I was like, oh, why is the siren going off?
yeah. I did have a question.
That's why I don't want the siren personally.
Yeah. So I had a question, when I first came on the board, somebody wanted to know, was there a message to the siren? You know, if it went longer, did that mean something different? So
Oh, yeah.
she was obviously paying attention to it, but yeah, let's start with Art and then see where to go from there.
Okay.
All right. So I have a little piece of information. Ann Manor McClarty is, who spoke about newcomers, who spoke as a newcomer at annual meeting, is interested in holding what she's calling a Sunday stroll in Saxtons River, one Sunday in May. And the idea is that there would be people around town, say the 4th of July committee, the park committee, somebody from the trustees board, and we'd all talk about what we do, and anybody who was new or old would walk around and meet people. So Anne is organizing this with the Historical Society, Main Street Arts, and I think the Saxtons River Inn and the Village Market. And she would like to know, how do the trustees feel about this idea? Is there a point of view on it from the trustees? So I don't know that we need a motion, but it would be great if you would weigh in with your concerns or opinions.
I love it.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Matt, Rick?
Lovely.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, and there may also be a farmer's market here, and they're wondering if there was a farmer's market, would we want to cover the vendors? And I asked Gary about this. Vendors at the farmer's market in Bellows Falls have their own certificates of insurance. And do any of you have any history about what happens, for example, on the 4th of July?
What do you, in terms of what we
Coverage,
use for
insurance coverage.
Yeah.
So you're a farmer's market and you know, somebody gets sick from eating something you
Right.
serve.
I don't remember. I guess we'd have to ask Sue Hernandez.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about the vendors coming in for the 4th of July, but obviously anything that happens at the rec area.
On the 4th, yeah, we
We're liable
cover
for
that, but
Yeah.
that is the only thing that we've covered. So for example, I think, I don't remember whether you were here for this discussion. I hope I'm remembering that we had this discussion. League of Cities and Towns has recommended that we not cover, for example, that we require that somebody else using the rec, say for a Vermont Academy camp out or a children's concert held by another organization, that they get coverage for that event, their own coverage. And they warned us that, of course, if somebody sues, they'll sue everybody. But the idea is that the village should not take the brunt of the suit. So,
Do you
all right.
want me to look, Amy, do you want me to look into that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I would think the same principle would apply to vendors at a farmer's market. I mean, I don't think we would want to take on liability for somebody using the village street.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think the term you're looking for, Ellen, when you talk about this is COI, Certificate of Insurance.
Yeah, because I know that I thought it was Vermont City, League of
League of
Cities
Cities
and
and
Towns.
Towns.
I thought that they did, if I remember my days on the Saxtons River Rec, that's who covered our insurance and
Yes.
one-day events. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we have liability coverage year round with them.
Mhm.
So,
Great.
and we pay through the nose for it. So coincidentally, it's in the warrant. All right. Any other public comment? If none, we'll move on to reviewing the annual meeting. All right. So I'm going to start off. One of our citizens pointed out that I had missed the 10-day deadline to have the annual reports in front of everyone. It's supposed to be there at least 10 days before the meeting. So I am ready next year to start cracking the whip much, much earlier. I had sent out a request, but I think probably because we were all so new, we just didn't get the stuff in on a timely fashion. I was still waiting for last minute reports, mostly financial. The auditors couldn't do anything until they got final reports from Sarah. So she has said there's no reason we couldn't do this even in February. So I think that's a little incentive for us to get cracking earlier.
That's fine.
When did the reports go out? 7 days ahead?
Yeah. Let's see. Easter Sunday, I ran them down to the market. So 8 days ahead. So I missed it only by 2 days, but there was no way they could have been there any sooner.
Right.
I was word processing up to the last minute when I started printing copies. So.
All right.
What else? What else should we keep track of for next year?
Well, I'm wading through Peter Golick's comments on the financial reports.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to straighten out how our report of the budget, our budget worksheet, timing comes up with the treasurer's report and making sure that everything's consistent, and making sure that the right that the final numbers are the ones actually entered into spreadsheets for calculations and so forth. I noticed, for example, that in the treasurer's report, the budget for the previous year listed as $20,000 budgeted for fire station development. And the budget we passed was only $4,000 in the budget. And the other money came not through the budget discussion, but just out of cash on hand before the budget was decided. So we need to just make sure that all those I's are dotted and T's are crossed and everything's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to track down some of the math inconsistencies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always enjoy having somebody go through independently and add everything up, but I did feel that we look sloppy given the errors that Peter reported. I mean, it's good. Somebody should be doing it and catching us when we make mistakes, but it's bad. You're right, Carl.
You're right. We were sloppy.
Yeah. So Sarah seems to feel if we get the new software, that will make a big difference. And I'm also hearing that to some extent from our fire department and our rescue, Nick Cushman and Art Smith, that they really want those ongoing, what has been spent year to date. And they're feeling like that's really important, and they missed it this year. So
Maybe we should have Sarah give us a tutorial on what she's doing with the new software when she's got it up and running, so that we know what it's capable of.
So
that
you
we're
know
giving
what?
her- so
I'm
that
gonna
we're-
put that on my list to write to Sarah and ask, I don't think she's purchased it yet,
No, I don't think so.
because we would have seen the receipts. Okay, so let's urge her to get right on top of that. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I have one other thing if no one else does. Sarah had suggested that the sewer fee bills go out in the same envelope with the tax bills.
So I have that as number 6, agenda number 6.
Oh, okay, never mind. I'm looking at the
I thought it
wrong-
was important enough to knock out on itself.
Okay, we'll pick it up then.
Okay. Anyone else? Can we just say how great it was to see everybody face to face?
Yeah, I thought we had a really great turnout. I was
Yeah.
very pleased with all the people there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
The sign up sheet was useful, although it some people signed in as residents who weren't.
That's going to happen.
Um,
It's confusing.
Yeah, and there's one, well, they go in separately into the minutes, so I'm trying not to offend anybody by putting them in the wrong town. And there is still one signature I haven't identified yet.
Mhm. Okay.
I think I may just omit that person,
A known
Okay.
stranger.
or I could call it the unknown stranger.
So one thing I would
Um,
like for next year to add to the list of things to do or improve upon is making sure that the reports are better identified for the fiscal year that they are reporting on, because I was a little bit confused by a couple of them where they looked like they were for 2021, but were they 2021 or 2020?
Yep.
I'm assuming that they were, as after Rob Wheeler pointed out, that they were all for 2021. So that means that they were like, fiscal year ending last July, where for some reason I had it in my head that it was, kind of like 2022 for some reason, but
Yeah,
Well, I think we can just ask, and I can do that so I email everybody. And typically by the time I email, the Windham County Sheriff has already sent his in, but nobody else has. So I'll just ask people to put on top exactly what months the report covers. If it says January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, then and if it's fiscal year, then that. I think most of them were calendar year, actually, but it would be good to have them identified. And it was confusing. I always feel that when I'm doing my taxes too. I'm doing my taxes in 2022, but it's for 2021. What do I put on the folder? So, okay. Anything else? Anything else that stuck out? All right. So item number 5, the Declaration of Inclusion. Comments on the discussion at annual meeting?
Other than I support it.
Well, go ahead.
I have a comment that's probably not going to be popular, but I don't think it's the place of the board to issue a declaration of this sort on behalf of the village. I think that it's beyond our responsibility and beyond our authority. If we wanted to say the trustees of the village, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that's one thing. But for us to say for the village, I think I don't think that's right. And so I think that we need, if we're going to have a village declaration, it needs to be done by a village process and not just discussion at the trustee meetings.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
So-
think it's a valid, I think that's a valid point.
So I did have someone write, actually have two comments that came to me already. So I don't know if you've seen, but on both kiosks, the one at the fire station and the one by the village market, I've put up some proposed wording, the wording that the other 45 municipalities have used based on a Vermont website. And I've also put the names and emails for the trustees, the individual trustees taken from our website. I'm guessing, because none of you have volunteered, that I might be the only person that someone has written to. Is that the case? Has anybody else gotten correspondence? No. Okay.
Just the thing from Ben.
I think I was copied on an email.
The thing from Ben Wallace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one from Ann.
Good. So those are the only two I've gotten. Great. So you remember Ann's point was, and actually Ben's point also, that if we do this, we should begin with the welcome, not the condemnation.
Mhm.
And she would also like to see a very specific period. So the trustees will take comments through a given date and then reach a conclusion.
Who was Ann?
Ann Manor McClarty. She
Okay.
was sitting in the front row.
Yes,
She
no,
has-
no, say the last name. I've got it.
Okay, and she lives in the Catholic Church,
Former
Um,
Catholic Church.
former Catholic Church. Thank you. I'd love to do that, quite frankly. I think that would be great. And I was very moved by what people had to say, particularly Susan Rugg. If you remember, she said, in times like these, it's not good just to sit by. We should take action.
I agree.
Yeah. So,
Well, I certainly support the wording. I'd be a little concerned about liabilities for us personally. If we have our names on it, if somebody feels excluded, well, what happens then if someone's bringing a lawsuit? And I guess I feel that that Saxons River residents already act in a way that is supports all of that without having an actual declaration of it.
actually, someone said to me that they felt they knew a family that was being discriminated against in Saxons River. Single parent, poverty, people saying negative things.
Well, that's right. Us, yeah. I haven't heard anything like that, but I don't know as a declaration is going to, like, well, and that might be a prime example of if the person knows that there's a declaration, then what? Are we liable in some sort of way to right the wrong, to take action?
I think that's, I mean, I do think that that's a valid concern. I'm just hoping that we can work in some way to still make this happen, because that liability, Matt, I agree with you. That did cross my mind.
Yeah, it's right. And I think all of us as a board, certainly, the wording of the declaration holds true to our values. But how to implement something like that.
Yeah, I think that this is important, and I do support it. And as we all do, as I stated, with liability, but I'm certain, or maybe I'm hoping, that we can still figure out a way to make this statement happen.
So I'm happy to call my new best friend at the League of Cities and Towns.
Well, that would be helpful.
Here she is again, she'll say. Now what's the liability issue? But she was great when it came to discussing liability around children. So I put up the declaration just to refresh my memory. So if we went with Ben's and Anne's suggestion, we would begin with the welcome. And Ben did suggest wording, which I could go and get, but I don't think I have it saved as a file, so it would be harder to share. So it's welcomes all persons, regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender. I don't have to read it. You've all read it. And wants everyone to feel safe and welcome. So I don't know what the liability issue would be there. And the fact that Governor Scott has passed this, and so have 45 other towns, including Burlington, suggests to me, I mean, not that we shouldn't discuss this until we've made a decision, but suggests to me that there may not be much liability involved. The truth is, we don't do any hiring. We don't oversee rentals. We don't have zoning here. You know, that all happens under the auspices of Rockingham. We do pass policies, and we do have procedures, and we take actions.
So for example, a group wants to hold an event in the park and they're not granted a permit. There's a potential liability.
So we have a policy.
It's real easy to make a case that, well, you're discriminating against us because our group is, I don't know, right-wing Buddhist or some such. I think I'm not sure that anything like that would prevail, but I'm just saying it's, even though there's nothing that is overtly or obviously something that we could be sued for, doesn't mean we can't be sued.
Yeah, I mean, I know in my former career, we said anybody can be sued at any time. You know, people have the ability to sue. I think the question is whether we're covered by our liability and how far out we're going.
Mhm.
So why don't I pursue that?
Mhm.
And
That'd be good to hear from them.
okay. I'm not going to be at the next meeting, so I can email, although I'm not sure I'll get to talk to this person for a couple of weeks because I'm about to take a break. Are you willing to postpone this till, say, the first June meeting?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before we move on?
Well, I'd just like to go back to the question of whether we want to continue discussing this amongst the trustees or whether we want to open some sort of a broader community forum to talk about it.
Well, we had annual meeting. Our bylaws don't have a different process for getting people together.
Well, we have a park committee. We have we could even have a special meeting of the trustees specifically for the purpose of our entertaining what people have to say.
Mhm. All right, I'll come to you the first meeting in June with a proposal.
Okay.
And while I, you know,
With a proposal, or are you just going to report what you find from out from your conversation?
Both. So I will report on what I'm told by Ms. Kennedy about the liability issues. I think there is some information about how to proceed on the website that talks about the Vermont Declaration of Inclusion. So I'll review that and bring it to you.
Okay.
And maybe talk to a few people about, I'm not eager to hold public forums in Saxons River. It seems to me that's what we did with annual meeting, but I'll certainly review the material, and it gives you a chance to think about how you envision that going forward. We do have public forums happening. I'll tell you more about that around the municipal planning grant for 37 Main Street. That's going to be 3 public meetings. We encouraged people to come out for ARPA. There were people from Saxons River, but not a great number. So perhaps that just says it wasn't of that much interest to them.
I know the annual meeting, we talked very generically about a declaration of inclusion and not a specific one. And maybe the response would have been different, but we had positive comments, but only from 5 people out of the group there, and emails from 2 people. I would like to see more input.
So the other thing,
and I would like to see a forum where people who oppose it feel that it's possible to speak up. It's a difficult thing to say you're not in favor of the wording of this declaration, or you're not in favor of having a declaration, or you think only Native Vermonters should be allowed in the village, or whatever your feeling is. It's a difficult topic to take a negative position on. So, but I think we need to know if there are feelings like that out there, so that people don't feel railroaded.
Well, honestly, that's why I put the names out. I wondered if people would feel more comfortably coming to an individual with their point of view. And of course,
they might.
You could, but so I put it out there for posting. But I think the idea of having a specific period is not a bad one. And we could also, I mean, Rockingham is feeling or my read on Rockingham is that they are much preferring Australian ballot whenever they really want to hear from a broad range of the town, because they get much better turnout with a ballot than they do with a meeting.
Yeah, it might be something that we should consider, but I think the next step, the information you're going to look into and present to us will be the next step. We don't have to decide on it at that time.
We have a vote in November, correct? There's a Rockingham-wide vote, and so a separate sheet could be given to Saxons River residents who vote at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It's just a thought.
Yeah.
How do the rest of you feel? Rick?
You might want to check with the town clerk or someone to make sure that I don't know if they have a separate voter list for the village of Saxons River that they keep. But I guess, I talked to a few people after the meeting, a few of the people who are in favor of this, and, my question still stands is, so if we chose to go ahead and sign this and do it, then what? A couple of people I talked to are like, oh, well, we'd like to see, one person said when, they drive through other towns and their kids point out how they see BLM signs and rainbow flags, but they don't see them in Saxons River. I'm like, well, this isn't going to put flags up or signs up, that's kind of up to the residents. And when we, so when we say that, the village already is, supportive of this stuff and open to it, like I'm willing to bet that Saxons River is probably much more open than a lot of other places around, but I guess maybe it's just that it's not on display, and that's what people are looking for. I just don't want it to be an empty gesture, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about a piece of paper that we're going to sign and file away, and then what becomes of it, that's still a bit of my concern.
So you don't want to fly a flag, but you don't want it to be an empty gesture. So it's trying to figure out if there's.
I didn't say I didn't want to fly a flag.
Okay.
I didn't say that at all. I said, what becomes of it? Like, is it, are the village trustees then going to, work on getting a banner that hangs in the park, or are we going to get welcome to Saxons River, inclusive signs at the entries to the thing, or are we just going to sign this piece of paper and put it in a drawer? I didn't say anything about not wanting to fly any flags
Okay.
or any of that.
I think I misinterpreted your statement about residents could fly flags.
They could. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
but I guess that was, the people were pointing out that they don't see them in Saxtons River. And so I hadn't thought about it before, and there are a few here and there, but you don't really see them around the village like you do in a lot of other places.
We need a mural.
All right, June meeting for further discussion.
Sure.
If you have thoughts, send them along. Item number 6, combining the tax mailing with the sewer fee mailing. Carl, let's start with you if you're willing.
Yeah, oh, well, I have a vested interest in this since I've sort of inherited both jobs. And I want to know if the board wants me to do this, because my inclination is to say it ain't gonna happen. For a couple reasons. First, we need data, particularly enrollment data from Vermont Academy, which is going to be evolving, and the later we get it, the better. And we've had Ben and I have had some talk about maybe it would be better if we sent the bills out later in the fall after they've got their fall term enrollment, which is probably a month later than we do them now. So for the sewer fees, it might be better to push things later rather than to move them up. If this is something that we really want to have all the bills ready to go out in the same envelope, I need to devote some time to getting the stuff together starting now, so that I make sure I've got it all. And it may not be as difficult this year as it was last year, which is the first time I did anything on it, but it's still a lot of time and busy work. And I just as soon have a little bit more of a gap.
And you have to do both lists?
I do both lists. Well, so I did the work for the budget, and when the information comes in from town about the grand list, I figure out what the rate is, and then we vote on it, which typically is last meeting in May, first meeting in June. I've asked for the date. I haven't heard anything back yet. I asked for that as soon as we pass the budget. And then the other piece we need for the tax rate is what the updated grand list value is. And there's a form that officially gives that last year the town tax collector sent to me. I think in the past it's maybe come to Ben from the listers. I'm not sure.
And we have new listers this year. I mean,
Yeah.
we still have Paul Noble, but we have 2 new listers. So
Yeah.
there may be some, although it sounds like they're both very competent.
Well, the website says that the list is finalized on the 1st of April, but I found out last year that that's not necessarily the case. There still may be appeals or property sales that go on that change the grand list value. And so I don't know how long it's going to be before we get a current final listing.
Well, it sounds like the data and the decisions are kind of in your hands.
Well, yeah, so I'm asking, does the board think it's important to get these two bills out at the same time? I know it's a convenience for Sarah because it's one less set of envelopes to mail out. That saves a little postage.
I think it might be cause more problems for some people. Typically, if you get a bill and you look at it and it's due at a certain date, then you know that one. If you have two bills in one envelope and one is due now and one is due 3 months from now, does it cause more problems?
And the due dates are about a month apart.
About a month apart.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I think that that is a source of confusion for a lot of people. For me too, if I were the one paying the bills in the household.
Well, it's unfortunate that we couldn't spread those out a little bit more for people that have, finances are a little tight and can't take care
Well,
of
I
those.
think Sarah is very willing this year, as she was last year, to make arrangements, to spread those payments out if it's challenging for people. I think she tried to put that into the bills and also to say it when anyone contacted her. So that's something we could double check again this year. I had the sense, correct me if you felt something different, that she was proposing it partly as a convenience, but partly as a money-saving gesture, half the postage with
Yeah.
one envelope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was part of it.
It's like $150, is it?
$150, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do we need to decide on that tonight or not?
No, I'm just wanting to know if the sense of the board is that we really want to try to do this, then I'll get busier. But
If we want to save some money on postage, I am happy to get mine electronically.
Ditto. I'm in favor of consolidating and or electronically.
So electronically, anybody know what that means?
Oh,
How
that's
do
a
you
whole nother-
envision that?
That's another whole nother can of worms that somebody else would have to figure out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, certainly with QuickBooks, it would be ideal because once the information is in there, you pay it and it's going to pop up that it's paid just as soon as that happens, instead of wondering who is paid and who hasn't and where we stand as far as spitting out reports. If someone is looking for a report, it's going to be easily done.
Yeah, I think getting QuickBooks up and running might be a priority, and then we could maybe
Right,
have a
right,
discussion
and
if it
then-
was possible.
Mhm.
And if everybody's information is in QuickBooks, then next year it might be as simple as having people, who wants to receive it electronically, and then they
Right.
might be able to just go click a button in there that
Yep, absolutely can.
they would both send it electronically to those that want it and print out the names of the labels for those that don't, is my guess.
huh.
Yep. Yeah.
But I don't really have a horse in this race, I mean, I'm not gonna inconvenience, we have to figure there's some value on Carl's time, at least to Carl. And $150 worth of postage, if it means 3 hours of extra work for him, I'm not that interested in trying to save the $150.
Right. Yep.
Carl, would you prefer to work this out with Sarah, or should I take the lead?
no, I'll talk to Sarah about it.
Okay,
I
and I
think-
will send
I
a
think,
separate message urging QuickBooks purchase sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
I mean,
Rick makes a good point that QuickBooks needs to be up and running with everyone's information, and then probably at an annual meeting or send out something in one of the bills, asking people if they would prefer to have it electronically versus through the mail.
Would they come,
Okay,
they would come via email then?
What's that? No, it goes direct. It comes direct. It would go out through QuickBooks and they would pay it and it would go right into the account and,
so I'm
Show that
sitting
they
at
pay.
my
How
computer.
do I?
How does
do I
that
get-
happen?
What's that?
How do I get the bill from QuickBooks? I mean, does it come to me in my email or does it just pop up
Probably,
on
yeah.
my screen?
yeah. It'll come in your email.
Okay,
You know, kind of similar to like PayPal or something like that. It would come through as an email. You'd click on it and pay your bill and it's done.
got it.
Yeah, Rick, are you saying something? You're
Yeah,
muted, so.
my property taxes are, auto withdrawals set up already. So I get the bill once a year, but I don't ever pay the bill. It just gets automatically withdrawn.
Yep.
So you could,
Me too.
and so with QuickBooks, they should be able to do all of the above. Like, I could get a digital electronic email, whatever you want to call it, copy of my bill and have it set up so that it auto withdraws from my bank account, or you could get a paper copy in the mail to you if you so prefer, and then write out a paper check if anybody still has those.
Yep. No, I know. I open the mail. People have those. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
some of our biggest taxpayers, that's what they use. Probably they have to create some kind of audit trail, but there's a payment from Vermont Academy in today's warrant, and it came by check. So yes, it does still happen. Okay, so Carl, you're going to proceed?
Yeah, I'll follow up with Sarah about it.
Okay. So no action at this point on number 6, except for following up with Sarah. But come to us when you want more discussion.
Okay,
So I have a comment or a question that kind of go together. I've got 2 copies of tonight's agenda and my number 6 on both of them are different. And they didn't
Yes.
include that.
So you must have missed people kept adding stuff to this agenda. I have never before posted 3 different agendas.
I guess I didn't get the last one. My number
Okay.
6 was local hazard mitigation plan.
That happened before Carl said we really should discuss tax and sewer fees. So I added that to the agenda and moved it on. And maybe it would have been easier to keep it short, but by that point, I just wanted to make sure we got everything in. So
when
I
you-
think, go ahead.
just a question. When you send out this agenda for us to look at, how long do you wait to get comments back from us?
Typically, I send it out at night and I wait until the next night to do it.
Okay.
But I discovered, I think I sent it out like on a Wednesday night. I plan to post it on Thursday night or Friday morning. And I was at a meeting Thursday night when I thought it was a done deal. And I hope I'm remembering this right. The town manager said, you did put that hazard mitigation vote on the agenda, didn't you? And I thought, I guess I have time. How long would you like? The problem is I'm juggling stuff and
Yeah.
people are giving things to me at the last minute. And I feel like the sooner it's up, the sooner people can make their plans. But I'm the usual disorganized person when it comes to this.
Well, I just want to know if I open my mail at 1 o'clock in the morning, do I have to respond right away if I have that to the agenda?
Yes, you have to respond right away.
Okay,
And even if your response is, please give me until 1 a.m. tomorrow morning before you make a decision on the agenda, that gives me a target date.
okay.
Typically, I feel like you're all looking at it and saying, it looks fine to me. So
Well,
for what it's worth.
you can thank my procrastination for not having to redo the ones that I posted or emailed out, because I didn't get those sent out until I'd gotten what I think was your final version.
Good.
And
Good.
I do tend to wait a little bit in case there are changes in the agenda after.
I know.
afterwards.
ridiculous to keep sending it to people.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try and ask earlier in the week and wait longer. How's that? Are we ready for number 7, a discussion of the local hazard mitigation plan?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the plan. I have two hard copies here, if anyone wants to read through it. It is a lengthy document. It's about 100 pages long. And it shows the efforts of a number of hands and a number of attempts to analyze what local hazards there are for this area and what kind of mitigation there could be for them. So local hazards include things like extreme weather, landslides, invasive species, riverbank erosion, and dam failure. And there are many charts in this. So for example, the possibility of an extremely damaging hailstorm, the damage would be high, but the probability is very low. So that doesn't go up as big a challenge as bank erosion. So bank erosion has a big impact, and it happens every year. So it moves up in the charts. That's a shorthand version of what I have here. This plan updates an earlier plan, and it is meant to be looked at every year at town meeting in March, and at that point to also update the local emergency management plan, the LEMP. This one, I think more so than previous ones, addresses the idea of climate change and climate refugees, people who are choosing to move to Vermont because of the climate. So Rockingham has passed this. I believe Bellows Falls has, and you have your hand up, Matt.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is this something we need to approve?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm just giving you the warm up.
Yep, no, I was just
So there is a
wondering.
place for me to sign. I would like to sign it. I have read the whole thing, and it needs to be signed promptly. Are there any objections?
I'll make a motion that Amy signed the local hazard mitigation plan.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that Amy sign the local hazard mitigation plan for the village trustees. All in favor, raise your hand. And it's unanimous. Great. Thank you very much. Maybe that took longer, but wanted you to know what you were getting in for. Okay, I'm hoping your number 8 or your renumbered 8 is the Main Street Arts request for a letter of support. They do not want us to consider this at this point. They will come back to us with specifics this summer.
Okay.
Number 9, appointment to the fire committee. So this is the 1996 committee. I think it's critical to have a strong voice on this committee. I think there are many other strong voices coming in from the other boards, and Matt has indicated his willingness to serve. So I'll nominate Matt to be the representative of the Saxtons River trustees.
Second.
Second. Oh, third.
Are there any other nominations? Is there any further discussion? All right, it's Matt Brennan has been nominated and seconded to serve on the fire committee. All in favor, hold up a hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you. Matt, if you get into a bind and run out of time, please come back to the board or ask one of us to serve in your place. But I think it's great that you're willing to do this.
How do I get a copy of the 1996 agreement?
I would ask the town manager, tell him that Scott Pickup, do you have an email for him? It's something like manager@rockbf.org.
Is it?
I will send it to you afterwards. I don't want
Okay,
to
thank you.
fiddle around right now.
Yep.
Whoops, lost my earphone. Hold on a minute. The agreement may be superseded by other discussions, but the original agreement asked for board representatives as well as fire department representatives.
Mhm.
So Peter Golick is representing the Rockingham board, and I'm going to guess that Wade Major, have I said his name wrong?
Sure.
Mashur may be the village representative, but I don't know.
Mhm.
So that'd be great. So I will send you, I'll tell you what, I'll copy you and I'll send the information to Scott
Oh, thank you.
that Matt will serve and wants a copy of the agreement. Okay, committee reports and updates. Saxons River Park. So they have asked our approval for spending $300 from their account on native and perennial plants to add color to the park. There will also be expenditures for lawn mowing this summer. And our lawnmower from last year has returned. I asked him if he needed more, given the cost of gas, and he said no, he was fine with continuing at $25 a mow. And that is Andrew Dunbar. I guess we need a motion on the Saxons River Park expenditures. There is money in the account, but I don't know the exact amount.
A question. It seemed to me that wasn't there some discussion about the amount per mowing and it was $50? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, it wasn't $50. I'm sure it was 25. Sarah seems to think it was 50. And
Okay,
I think she may have made a payment of 50, but I think that was 2 mowings. It's, you know, it's a relatively small area.
yeah,
So I'll make a motion to approve purchases and maintenance for the Saxons River Park.
Okay. Can you mention $300 for the plants?
Sure, $300 for the plants.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second,
It's been moved and seconded to approve $300 for spending on native and perennial plants for the Saxons River Park and $25 per mowing for Andrew Dunbar. Is there any further discussion?
just a question. Do you happen to know about how healthy their balance is? Because they do have the, we're already committed to the engraving of the benches, which should be happening in the next couple weeks.
The what of the benches?
The engraving of
Engraving?
Saxons River Park in 2009 on the benches, the sign.
Do you have a figure for that, Carl?
I believe it's $650.
Wow.
I can look that up.
I remember discussing this multiple times last year, and it was then, I am 99.5% sure it's 650.
Okay, good. Do we have
Except
that
now
balance?
with gas prices and up, the guy will probably come back and say, I need an extra $100 to drive out there now.
Do we have their balance in our town report? It's separate funds, isn't it? Anybody have the town report on them?
I do.
Thank you, Ellen. Do you want to look at the, I don't think it's in the financial report, though.
I don't see it.
Okay, I guess I should have asked for that ahead of time. So I would propose, if you're okay with this, Matt, subject to the account being able to handle both the
Account
engraving
balance. Yep,
and
absolutely.
this extra expenditure. Okay. Are people comfortable with that as a revised motion? I'm
Yes.
seeing agreement.
Yeah,
Okay, all in favor of passing the motion, stick up your hand. And it's unanimous.
I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I just,
Always good to know.
Good to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 4th of July committee. Rick, are you on that committee? Okay. Anybody on that committee?
Nope.
Okay. They've been keeping me in touch, so I'll keep talking. They have asked for the board to reach out to the sheriff for coverage, which the 4th of July committee will pay for. They want one car. I just wrote this to the sheriff and I've already forgotten. I think it's between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. So I've reached out to the sheriff and I just wanted to inform you of that. It's not an expenditure on our part, but they're using the fact that we have the contract with them as the entree to the discussion.
Did you make that clear with the sheriff when
Yes.
this was outside of our
Yes.
contract and it would be billed?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I did. And I copied Sue Hernandez on the email so that he could
Yeah.
respond directly to her. I should mention to you that in the most recent report, the activities of the sheriff's department in what's the month we've just finished up? I guess
April.
it's March that I typically see when we pay for May. They were patrolling on Parker Hill Road. So I've asked for clarification from the sheriff of what roads are actually considered to be Saxtons River. That one doesn't seem to be Saxtons River to
No,
me.
not
Yeah.
at all.
That's
Yeah.
over on the other side of 103. So
Yeah.
let's not
And
be
they
paying
also
for that.
mentioned Leech Road, and I thought, well, I don't know.
No,
You're
Leech
smart.
Road.
Rockingham.
No.
I knew you guys would be hardliners. All right, well, I've reached out. And I probably should have had you do it, Rick. You're the one that works with them the most, but since I had to write them anyway about the 4th of July.
They did have somebody stopped out at the end of out by your house here a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah? Did you see any exchange of money?
No, I saw somebody very unhappy sitting in their car.
Oh, boy.
They asked,
Yeah, I saw them.
Tristan
I'm
flagged them down and they asked if they could park in his driveway right on the corner.
They
Oh,
can
really?
park in mine.
Yeah.
The sheriff's deputy in order to
Yeah,
catch
with,
people?
with their black pickup.
Wow. Okay.
Right in with all the other black pickups in that property, won't it?
That's
They're
it, 'cause
welcome to park in my yard.
the car I saw them had stopped. I'm not sure where they were sitting because it was going the other way. It was heading south on. They had them stopped right at the end of Clark Court by Susan Rugg's house.
Huh.
Yeah,
Wow.
I saw them stop just past the bridge coming into Saxtons River 2 days ago.
It was
It
very
was a
exciting
pickup.
for my son. He was driving then. It was like the day after he got his license.
He'll be on the report soon.
Probably for going too slow.
Well, if you had to pick, Rick.
Yeah. As long as I'm riding with him, I'd almost rather he went too fast.
Careful what you wish
just-
for.
Just really quick, when we were talking about the village of Saxtons River, I remember from the research that I did that the historic district ended right after the Ward's house next to mine. So the historic district is also the actual village as well. So any of those.
So Corey Hill
It's
Road
this-
is also not part of the village?
No.
It's not part of the historic district. So is the historic district synonymous with the village, or are they two separate entities? Like when identifying.
I don't think you're.
I think you ought to look into that.
All right. Now I
You go down to the town hall and find some maps.
will. All right.
It would be a great thing to know. I've looked on the internet, but you can find anything on the internet. And obviously that it was confusing for people. It's, where do you live? I live in Saxtons River. Well, that's because, you sort of identify with Saxtons River.
Because
Right.
the Saxons
One thing-
River Rec is just up the road.
Well, what I
And
will.
that would not be in Saxtons River, right? Except
That's
for it
correct.
was officially deeded to the village of Saxtons River.
Yeah,
Well,
the other,
went
the other-
went through bunches of old maps of the village when I was looking to see where the boundaries are. And there are official maps of the highway department that have different boundaries for the village located on their maps if you go in different years. I do have the official description of where the village boundaries are. And if you can find the white rock that they all reference to.
Can you, I can share it with you right now. I'm looking at the GIS map.
Okay,
Well,
let me
it has-
give you the
We are
ability
getting a
to
little off
share.
topic here.
We are getting a
you know?
little
Yeah,
off topic,
well,
but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
So
just want to
other
add
business, perhaps?
I'm sorry, I'll just add one more thing to this. Myself, the wards and the woods all have to pay for a PO box because
Oh,
we are not considered Saxons River post office. So we have to pay that, monthly, yearly fee. And if I wanted postal delivery to my house, my address becomes 4 Pleasant Valley Road, Bellows Falls, Vermont, 05101.
Mhm.
So there's GIS map, historic
post
map,
office.
post office map.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I made you a co-host, Rick. Do you want to share it briefly? I understand people want to keep
no,
moving, but
I will email, I will collect a couple of different maps and send them out in separate emails for people to look at, but most
Okay.
of Shepherd Lane is not in Saxons River
yeah,
either.
I've
Right.
been corrected on that. So
Mhm.
back when I was trying to find someone to run for, this is before you two volunteered, I asked Mary Shepherd if she would be interested, and she wrote back immediately, "I'm not a resident."
Yeah, Oak
So
Street's
she at
not
least
part of the
is aware of
village.
it. No. I mean, I just had this feeling it's a dead end road. It must be part of the village, but of course that's ridiculous. It's a boundary. It's not where the road starts.
And then
So.
it just past Carl's house is where it ends on Hartley Hill.
So what's up
Right.
next on the agenda?
Thank you for bringing us back. Planning grant for 37 Main. A little bit of a new wrinkle. You know that I've been trying to keep you up to date with the search for a consultant. Gary Fox dug into the reasons that we had not gotten we didn't get any responses to our RFP. And what he discovered is that with the flood of ARPA money coming down through the state, our project was too small to attract the kind of consultant that we needed.
Wow.
So he's been working with the Wyndham Regional Commission and the organizational committee, which is me, Main Street Arts, and Gary Fox, have been considering the idea of using 2 professors out of the university, the UMass at Amherst. And we actually talked to Robert Ryan, Professor Robert Ryan, who spoke both for himself and for Elizabeth Hammond. They have done similar projects, research, presentation, and community engagement, including one on the island in Bellows Falls. They've also done projects in Brattleboro. They see it as enormously helpful to get their students real experience. So it would be supervised by faculty, but we might have students at an undergraduate level and graduate students doing the actual work. We were clear that we have a set budget and we've mailed that to him to review, and that the physical meetings had to take place in person in Saxons River. So we're waiting for a response from them, and I'm happy to see you have questions. Go ahead, Matt.
Are there any, there's no one in Vermont that would be doing that. We do have some good colleges in Vermont that have engineering in their programs. Just wondering if
This was a little.
you have VTC, you have UVM, you have Castleton, you have Middlebury. Just wondering if
So the
Norwich.
particular areas we were looking at were community engagement, and it's not engineering. It is I have to go back and look at the email and forward it to you.
Mhm.
It's research-based. It looks at municipal planning. And I think you're right. I think the reason we ended up with this take is because Chris Campany knew them personally, and he didn't have those connections with the other colleges. I was a little bit concerned about the idea of students, but I felt very comfortable once I heard the professor talk about the actual experiences that they had had in this area. So maybe a Middlebury or a UVM would have similar things, but I don't have a way in to them.
Right. Because yeah, I recall I had a student in VTC, and they did some planning, I think, in Norwich for sidewalks and in wastewater. I mean, not wastewater, but stormwater runoff.
So
Just
particularly,
wondering if there's something in Vermont that could do the same thing.
yeah, the technical aspects that VTC is so good at, they were able to do. Yeah. So we have reached out to these people. The two impacts that I was concerned about was one, expertise, and two, timing. So this would move the project to happen in the fall. Gary reached back to the municipal planning grant funders to make sure that it would be legitimate, and they are willing to accept this. They don't require a particular Vermont consultant be hired, for example. They felt that they would prefer it if the grant was expended by May 31st of 2023, and we would just make that deadline. And Gary explored with them if it took a month or two, and they said they're also experiencing this ARPA workload, so they would be willing to extend the grant if we needed it extended. But Professor Hammond was sure that Professor Ryan, excuse me, was sure that it would be completed on time. So comments? Do you want me to walk it back? I'm sure I could, but I'm a little concerned at this point. We've already made the reach out. This was more meant to be information than a request for approval. Although, of course, that is important.
You did say these students, or UMass students, have worked for with Bellows Falls before.
So probably we would get new students.
Right.
It's the supervision that's worked with Bellows Falls before.
Okay. So they have some experience with our area.
Yep. And with this kind of project. Yeah. I was not involved in the island project. Apparently it was pretty controversial. And Gary and Robert got into this discussion that was over my head, but had to do with Robertson paper and different factions. And it sounded like it came out fine, but it was good to know that Gary was aware of their skills and expertise and had seen them at work. So we're also counting on him. It's Chris Campany at Wyndham Regional Commission and Gary Fox, who are, helping me go forward with this.
It seems acceptable to me to continue forward with this plan that you've come up with of using UMass. And if it was successful before, not successful, but we've had experience with them. Gary feels comfortable. Okay. Ideally, sure, having Vermont students do it, but considering the time frame.
You need approval tonight?
I don't. I think it's already happened. Unless you're uncomfortable with my going forward, I'd like to just keep going and see what comes up.
Okay.
All right, water infrastructure. No word yet from Pat Smart. I've been writing to him routinely. There's a real grant backlog and we're stuck. Harold Buckner got in touch with me to say, hey, I assume the grant is already underway and you've been researching this since January. So I told him, no, that's not the case. We haven't heard yet. So at least he is aware of what's going on. So no action there. The ARPA, I got the report filed. Thank you all for that 8 a.m. meeting. Matt, I apologize for not seeing your email in time to include you in it. 7 a.m. meeting, not 8 a.m.
Yeah.
7 a.m. meeting. The report was the usual federal click here twice, stand on your head, swear you know what you're doing, but thank God for the helpful advice of our local Vermont institutions. Fire station, any word on the feasibility study?
No, we haven't heard anything yet. And I was actually talking with, well, I should say emailing with Gary last month at the end of the month about it. But no, we haven't heard anything yet. But
I imagine it's like everything else.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a waiting game. And then, does anybody have any questions though about the feasibility study in terms of what's?
I'm still trying to figure out how to find out. There's apparently an earlier feasibility study Rob Wheeler told me about. Gary doesn't know anything about it. It's probably in one of those boxes upstairs in my attic.
Well, I did mention that to Gary and he said it would be too outdated to use for a feasibility study because we need, the whole point of the feasibility study is we need to have it for the USDA grant if we continue forward.
Right.
So they needed a current feasibility study and something like that would be too outdated.
I'm just curious, honestly, Ellen, what Rob said is, yeah, we had a feasibility study and they told us it would be better if we cooperated. And we said, that's never going to happen. And I thought I'd just like to kind of go back and read, you know, what they did and, you know, how it played out, just kind of get a feeling for it. So,
yeah. And actually,
and what was the reference on the feasibility study? When was that done?
20 years ago, Rob said.
Hold on one moment. I just want to get this for everybody. Bear with me for a moment.
Are you going to share the screen?
No, I was just going to include a link in the chat for the feasibility study. If anybody wants to look at it a little bit more closely.
I have it. You've sent it out to us before, I think. I have it as a PDF.
Yeah, but this also is specifically what it's covering.
Okay.
It's on page 162. So just to let everybody know where that is, so you don't have to spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to locate it in the document. There. So just go to page 162.
Okay.
And what the feasibility study will cover.
So it's already up on the USDA website.
Yeah, it is old, but this is what it will cover.
Okay.
This is not approval of anything. This is just informational.
Well, I'm going to copy that and take a look at it. That's
so
great.
Yeah, just in a nutshell, it can be used as a guide for the preparation of financial feasibility reports as required for rural development financed facilities.
Oh, so this isn't our study. This is
no. This isn't.
Okay.
This is just what it covers, what the feasibility covers. If anybody wanted to see specifics. So the service area, population trends, similar facilities and services in the area, usage trends, community support, regulatory agency approval, economy in the service area, analysis of staff and consultants.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the fire station? And we're up to wastewater treatment plant. Updates or questions on the wastewater treatment plant? Okay, hearing none, we're on to the minutes for approval. April 8th and 14th. Is that correct, Carl? I assume we don't see the annual meeting minutes
You know,
officially for
the annual
approval?
meeting minutes will come out to you as soon as I finish them.
Okay.
But they don't get voted until next year.
Right.
I'll
Okay.
make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 8th and 14th.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 8th and April 14th. Is there any discussion about those minutes? Carl, any last minute thoughts or corrections? Okay,
Nope.
anyone else? All in favor of passing the motion? Raise a hand. And it's unanimous. Warrants and bills for approval. I will share the screen. It's a hefty one. So I have no idea how we missed this bill, $2,587 for our property and casualty coverage from VLCT. So that was due February 15th, and I got a reminder. The big one is one that Sarah asked me to put on. This is the bond payment for the USDA. I don't think it's due immediately, and I assume that she will be sensible about how she pays these out. The Windham County Sheriff, I just noted that they're really putting in the hours, and it included roads not in Saxtons River, so they've been notified about that. Under payments, we got a nice payment from Vermont Academy, $19,100, and tax payment. And reminder that on June 21st, two USDA payments will be withdrawn from our accounts. That's set up well ahead. So the total for the warrant of May 2nd looks like $116,630, $116,634.07. Do I hear a motion to approve the warrant?
Motion to approve the warrant.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the warrant of May 2nd in the amount of $116,634.07. Questions and discussion? Hearing none, let's call for a vote. All in favor, raise a hand. Okay, it passes unanimously. Other business.
Can I make a comment about that, about the warrant? I'm not sure that bond payment gets billed to the upgrade account.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure where that money is. So you may want to check and make sure it's not in the general WWTP.
I will put a note on it for Sarah. She's the one who asked me to put it on the warrant. So, and she asked in a very general way. So I just stuck it in upgrade, but I understand. So the upgrade account is exhausted now. You remind me, right?
Pretty near, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll change that, Carl. I'll take that as a comment and go back and change it. Okay. Any other business? Okay, items for the next meeting. Reminder, I will be away next meeting. Carl will run the meeting. Ellen, you said you do the agenda? Yes?
Yes.
No? Am I remembering that correctly? And Matt,
You're
we stuck you with the warrant. Are you willing to take that on?
Sure. I might need some hand holding from Carl, but
For the agenda?
just all of it.
Do what I do. Just take the last one, and
Copy
Carl
it.
will tell you that you forgot to take off number 4, and then you straighten it out.
I'll tell you what, it won't have 15 numbers next to it.
So Matt, are you willing, you weren't here when we divvied it up. Are you willing to do the warrant? It means picking up the bills from the post office.
Oh,
and
I see.
Putting them in. I thought you said you would do the agenda, Ellen, but maybe I'm remembering this wrong.
No, that's fine. I'm happy
I
to.
don't, I don't have a key.
I'm gonna offer it to you right now. Can you stop by my house the next time you're on your way to,
To the big
Trustees?
project.
yeah, it's a big bunch of keys and I will leave it on the kitchen
All right,
counter.
well, let me know before, yeah, make sure I get it before you leave.
Well, I'm leaving tonight at 1 a.m.
Ooh,
I guess I
Yeah.
could run it down after the meeting. Do you want me to do that?
If that's what you do like, sure.
Okay, I'll leave it off tonight.
All right.
Keys to
Uh,
Matt tonight.
So Amy,
Yes,
you want to make sure I have instructions on how to set up the Zoom meeting? Or should
Oh,
I just do it? tomorrow?
Christmas. Yes, of
Pardon?
course you need instructions.
Yeah,
I don't know as we approved
Oh, actually, it
the
automatically
the
happens.
chair going out of the area.
Let me finish this thought. Carl, it goes on automatically. You don't have to set it up. Typically, I don't start the meeting, but I will send you the instructions so that you have a fallback. It's
Yeah.
set up for now to eternity. I mean, obviously,
so,
no,
so
but
it will create the meeting and it will,
it's already created. I
And
have
it-
it as a template. That's why we always have the same meeting ID and passcode,
okay,
because I set it up to be,
Nice.
yeah.
thanks, Amy.
My pleasure. It turns out to be much easier when you do it as a pattern. So, oh gosh, we shouldn't be doing this now, but under reorganization, we should have included a discussion of whether to keep our paper of record, the Brattleboro Reformer. I would
thought we
like to do that. We didn't discuss that.
Maybe I'm remembering last year.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that you wanted it to keep the same since nobody brought it up. It might be cheaper to go with a shopper, but the shopper only comes out once a week. Ditto with the Commons. The Reformer comes out every day and they're very prompt about publishing our special meeting notice, which is the one time I really am concerned that we're legit and on top of the warning.
Well, I
Oh.
think you're just going to take care of that.
Yeah.
Because we can't take any action on it.
Right. We've already
You're
passed
just
that.
telling us that we're carrying on with what we've
Yep.
been doing.
Yep, and you'll bring it up in another meeting if you would like to change it.
Okay.
All right, anything else for next meeting? This will be Carl in charge, so. Okay. Any need for an executive session tonight?
Nope.
I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Thanks, guys.